So I was watching this video recently about reading, and it was by this creator called Omizi. I don't know if anyone's checked him out before or seen any of his content. It's a great commentary channel. Talks about a wide range of stuff. It's part of my daily YouTube video deep dive. It might be one of the videos that I might check out. But anyway, that aside, it got me thinking, like, what my relationship with books is. Like, why do I read? So, which just brings me on to this video. And then, so yeah, I got my notes here, got my book. I'm going to be glancing down in my notes just to remind myself on what I need to say or what I want to say and talk about in this video. So yeah, why do I read? And I kind of want to talk about how I got into reading, I guess. And I guess for me, I've always been surrounded by books. Like, in my head, I kind of see it like a kid surrounded by Lego, but instead of Lego, it's books. Like, my mum was reading when I was growing up. My dad was reading when I was growing up. So yeah, like I said, books all around me. There was a bookcase of books that I wanted to read or books that I hadn't read yet, and I just always saw books. Like, even from when I was a little kid, there was like always little kids' books that I was reading when I was little. So yeah, books are just everywhere. So for me, not having a book in my hand is kind of a bit weird, a bit crazy. And I guess the first book that I can remember really loving would be, or book series, probably would be either the Harry Potter series, because I remember that craze when I was like in secondary school, or even primary school. I think it was when the books come out. So I remember reading those. And then other than Harry Potter, it was A Series of Unfortunate Events. That book series, absolutely phenomenal. I love that. And when I saw that they made a TV series, or it was a movie at first, and I saw they made a movie, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited. And then they just did one movie and stopped. And they put like 3 books into one. Ridiculous. Like, it didn't even give the books any justice, and that's why I would say I enjoyed the Netflix series more, because it gave it 10 episodes per book, so it gave it more time to build out the world, I would say. And I guess reading has always been part of my world, part of my life, and I guess one of the things for me is why I keep reading. And I think it's interesting for me because there was a period that I do remember, quite a long period, where I wasn't really reading very much. I was buying books, always buying books, don't get it twisted, but I wasn't actually like reading anything. I would read things on my phone, like articles and stuff like that, but it wasn't really the same as reading a book. And then I think within that period I was delving more into audiobooks because it's kind of fun. Like, you got someone reading you a story, essentially. And if it's a great narrator, or even a good one, sometimes it's cool when it's like people from the story, or like if it's a famous one from a film or something like that, the actors doing the story or doing the narration and stuff like that. But like I think in that period I was doing more of that, but it wasn't really the same. Or like I think, what is it on? Was it Audible and Kindle on Amazon? They do this thing where if you buy the book on Kindle and you either get the audio free or maybe you have to buy the audio on Audible as well, and then like you can listen to the audio while reading. And I found that was kind of cool because you got to listen to it and then I could follow along, kind of like watching a TV show and having the subtitles up. It was like a fun little bubble to be in, but I wasn't actually physically reading any books. And then I think, I don't know, I got to one point where I was just like, look, I think it was one of my New Year's resolutions. I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but one of my New Year's resolutions one year was just like, I want to read more books. And then I had a look in my bookshelf to see which one of my books I wanted to start reading. And I don't remember what book I might have started reading around that time. Maybe I read The Girl with All the Gifts, or that's a banging book. If you haven't read The Girl with All the Gifts, banging book. And I think there might be a TV series or a movie with that as well. I don't recommend the movie first, I recommend the book first, but anyway, I'll get onto that later. I guess one of the things that kind of keeps me coming back to books, even after the long break, like I said, I was delving into audiobooks, I was reading Kindle on my phone occasionally, but it just, I don't know, it didn't give me the same thing of like that feel of like of touching a book, do you know what I mean? Like having the pages, turning the page, do you know what I mean? Like for me, that's the whole reason why I come back to books, why it's just one of the reasons rather. Another one of the reasons would be like, I enjoy reading, and the world it puts me in takes me away from the screens and means that it's just me and the pages, me and the words. And I guess it's also about the world that it creates in my mind. Like the imagination I have is absolutely crazy. So like I'll be reading a book and I'll be absolutely engrossed in that scene. Like characters will say lines and I'll be like, it doesn't matter where I am, I'm like fully in that book, like fully in that scene. I can see it all in my head happening. And there isn't much other mediums other than just reading in general, which kind of takes me into that world. So that's why I love a good book, because it always makes you like think outside of the book and what other stories and the stories that it's telling and the story of the book, I guess. And I guess I've already started to talk a little bit about it, but I guess that kind of brings me on to the epic battle of physical books versus audiobooks versus, what's the other one? Ebooks. The funniest thing is I turned the page, I read the title, and then I still forgot it. Regardless. So this epic battle is like, obviously there's physical books and like I said, I was talking about it before, like, but that beauty of like, I don't know, like, I feel like a lot of the time we spend a hell of a lot of time on screens, so, or looking at a screen, whether it's like the TV, our phones, iPads, or computer screens, laptops, there's always a bloody screens. So like sometimes, a lot of the time when I'm reading, it's on like a journey when I'm on a commute, on my way to work, or on my way just about anywhere. That's why I always carry a book with me, so I can just take. If there's ever a time where I'm on my screen for too long, or I'm just looking at things, or I'm on YouTube or Instagram, and I'm just like, look, it's enough now. Just turn to a book, and I can have the break from the screen, because I know I'm going to be, especially when I'm commuting to and from places, I know I'm probably going to be maybe looking at my screen again after I get off the train. Maybe a lot of the time I'm reading while listening to music on the train, but I'm not. I find it kind of an interesting space, because sometimes a lot of the time I'm not consciously listening to the music, although it's kind of like background noise. It filters out like the external noise of the train and other people talking, and then also I can just kind of focus in on the words while the music is just playing. I don't know if anyone else gets that, but like, yeah. But then also the joys of listening to music on the underground also catastrophically gets killed by catastrophically. It's not even that crazy. It's just like the Wi-Fi or the internet might cut out, and I haven't, like, whatever I'm playing or whatever I'm listening to at that moment, maybe I'm not on my offline playlist, so like wherever the internet had downloaded it up to, it just cuts out. And because I'm already engrossed in the book, I'm not too bothered to like start the music back up again. So I got active noise cancelling in my headphones. It's enough. I can still hear people, but I'm so engrossed in the book where it's just like, I don't even need to worry about the music. Another thing I haven't talked about with physical books that I really kind of enjoy is kind of like, it's the progression that you can kind of physically see. So like when you get to a certain chapter, you put I don't even have a bookmark. Don't even have a bookmark this would have been perfect to show. I ain't got nothing to show as bookmark. Or maybe we can use, imagine this coaster was not a coaster and it was a bookmark. So now, back to what I was talking about, the seeing of the progression. So like you can like get to your chapter or wherever you're up to when you're reading, and you put the bookmark, not the coaster, but you put the bookmark into the book, and then you can see where you're up to, and then you can be like, all right, cool. I pick up the book where I left off, I read a few more pages, I get up to the next part, I put the bookmark back in the book, leave it for a little bit when I come back, and it's like that. It's a nice like kind of reminder that you're getting through something, as opposed to, I don't know if you get the same thing or feeling of seeing the actual progression of getting through a book from an ebook or an audiobook. I'm not sure if it's the same thing personally, but maybe other people have a different opinion. I don't know. The other great thing about physical books is bookshops, because like you can be like a kid in a candy store, but instead you're an adult in a bookshop. And you're just gallivanting, looking around, just trying to find that perfect book. Like I said in the previous video, like sometimes you're just going into the bookshop and you don't know what you're looking for. You're just looking for a book. So you go in, you search around, you pick up a book, you read the blurb, you're like, oh, this seems interesting, maybe I'll read more. One thing I never do in a bookstop, blah, blah, blah. One thing I never do often in a bookshop is like, I wouldn't often open the book and read inside of the pages. I'll only read the blurb and the front cover and the reviews, because I feel like if I actually open the book and read it, it's kind of spoiling it before I've taken it home. On a very rare occasion will I open the pages and kind of see what else is inside. It's only if like I kind of like look on the blurb and it's blank, or there's only a few lines and I'm like, this doesn't tell me much about the book, but I'm intrigued. So then I'll like look inside. And then also, like, books look great on a bookshelf, and especially when there's books that you've read and the book has a story. And then like someone can pick up a book and they could be like, I've read this, da da da. Oh, another thing I just thought of is like, back when I was a kid, like another great series that I did read was The Lord of the Rings. I read Lord of the Rings, and then I remember reading Lord of the Rings, and then there was another book like The Hobbit that I hadn't read, but my dad brought it down, and my dad was telling me like, oh yeah, if you've read Lord of the Rings, you need to read The Hobbit. And I was like, what? What's The Hobbit? And he was like, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. And obviously my dad read it before, and I was like, oh, I'm intrigued now, like what's this? And obviously, so then I read The Hobbit and I was like, oh, this kind of brings everything in Lord of the Rings together, full circle. And then like Lord of the Rings came out, and that film series definitely gave those books justice. But yeah, that was just a random side note. It just came to me as I was thinking about books, and books being in shelves, and that was one of the books that was in the shelf, and I remember seeing it while I was reading The Lord of the Rings, and my dad was just like, you're not ready for that book. Finish Lord of the Rings first, and then you can read it. But really, I should have, thinking about it like in hindsight, maybe I should have read The Hobbit first, but at the same time, I understand the perspective, because like, anyway, moving on. Let's move on to ebooks, because like I don't have a big beef with ebooks. Like I'm like I said before, I've read an ebook or two. I've what is it, on Amazon Prime? You get Kindle, the free Kindle. You can get specific books for free. I've done that before. Like, but I understand the convenience of it, you know, like there's ebooks, and you can have like an ebook reader, and you can have millions of books on your ebook. And I guess I've never had an ebook before. I don't think I would ever own one. I've seen them, I've looked at them, and I'm like, oh, that seems cool. I see the convenience for travel and like carrying, like I said, 10 million books all at the same time. And then it's kind of like you could have your bookshelf, but digital. And yeah, that's cool. But I guess the only downside for that is like the same with all digital media at this moment in time. It's kind of like, if the store decides tomorrow that they're going to remove it, does that mean that you retain access to it because you purchased it? Or with it being removed, do you lose access to it? Versus physical media, I bought it, I own it, I can hold it in my hand. No one can take this away from me unless they rob me. You know? So, but yeah, other than that, aside, like, that's kind of a grim reality. Not something that will happen, it could happen, but you know, it's something that most people don't think about. But other than that, I understand why it works for some people. It's convenient. You can just slide 10,000 books. Like, it'll be like slimmer than this, like as thick as maybe a few pages, and you can just slide it into anything, or in your pocket if it's big enough, or small enough rather. But it just doesn't beat the feel of a real book, you know? And then audiobooks. Audiobooks, I guess, is kind of like a happy medium for me. Like, I would delve into audiobooks. I do have Audible. Like, I do buy books to listen to, because I do enjoy sometimes not reading a book myself and having someone read me a story. And it just means that I don't have to do the heavy lifting of reading and someone else can read it to me. And the whole world imagining thing, it will happen instantly, but I just don't have to read anything. And I get it. Like, or it's great to, like, it's kind of like an audio podcast for me, I think. Yeah, like a audiobook is like, yeah, exactly like an audio podcast. Like, not an audio podcast, which is like a series. Like, I don't know if you've listened to, I haven't listened to an audio podcast series thing in a very long time, but there was like a Batman one that was pretty good on Spotify, and there's loads, but I think the Batman one was the one that stuck out to me. Don't know why, but it's the first one that came to my head when I thought about audio podcast in that format. So yeah, and they're great. You can listen to them while you're commuting. You can listen to them while you're walking. You can listen to them while you're commuting and then start walking. It's like a lot of the time, the disconnect between reading is not that you can't walk around reading, because, oh my gosh, it's the coolest thing that I ever see people when like they get off the train and they're still reading their book. They're so engrossed that they're just like, the fact that I'm getting off the train isn't enough. I'm not closing the book. I'm still reading. That's so cool. And then like you see them like walking in the street. The first time I saw it happen, like, it was on the underground, and I was like, okay, cool. Maybe it's just on the underground. And then I saw someone walking in the street reading a book, and I was just like, people just do that? Nice. The first time when I was fully engrossed in a book, I was just walking around the street. I was like, look, I've got a 10-minute walk from the station to the work. I can read some more pages in that time. Like, this book is crazy. So yeah, I love that. I really, really do. So that's what I mean. It's not that you can't do that with a physical book, but it's a little bit more awkward when you do it with a physical book. So it's kind of a little bit more easier. That is not good grammar. That is not good grammar at all. A little bit more easier. But they are words that do mean the thing that I meant. So it was a little bit more easier. Yeah, like I said, it's... And I guess audiobooks matter as much as ebooks matter, as much as physical books matter, in the fact that no matter what medium you're listening to, reading, or holding and reading, a physical book or an ebook or listening to an audiobook, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but hey ho. Whatever format you are listening or reading this book, like, the fact that you are reading or listening to it is the thing that matters. It removes that barrier of entry. You can't say, oh, I can't read books because I can't get access to a bookshop. Well, you have a phone, you have access to an online bookshop. You can buy whatever book you want and read it on your phone. Oh, I don't like reading. Well, if you don't like reading, well, there's audiobooks. You can listen to someone tell you a story and you can still be engrossed in that world. It's very similar, but I don't know. Hey. And I guess this brings me on to like why bookshops matter. Because for me, it's all about the discovery, the browsing, the finding that uninspecting book, like going into that bookshop, searching or looking for a book. I've been actually looking for a book for a very long time. I need to have a look in some other bookshops or speak to one of the booksellers in the bookshop to see if they can find me this book. Because there's a thing about, I like going into bookshops and buying books. I can buy a book online, but it's not the same as like going into a shop and holding that book in your hand and looking through the pages. And yeah, like talking to people in bookshops, talking to the booksellers, finding out about like, oh, I'm just looking for, I don't know, I just want to read this, I want to read fantasy books, but I've been reading these types of books, and can you give me any suggestions of what next type of books I should read, or any new books that might have come in that you could recommend me? Like, talk to them about anything to do with the books, and two of my favorite bookshops at this moment in time, because they are they're bookshops that, they are bookshops that, the first one would be Abney Bookshop, which is in Stoke Newington. It's a really cool secondhand bookshop, and they have also recently started selling brand new books as well. They have like a really cool collection of different types of books, and they also do this cool thing where you can pick up 4 books for £10. And I think the first time I walked into that bookshop, I can't even remember the reason why I went in there. I was just walking and I noticed there was a bookshop and it was open, and I was on my way most likely to the Word Zoo, which is an open mic event that I co-run with my friend. If you live in London and you want to come and check it out, whether you're like a musician or a poet or an actor or a dancer, any type of performer, like if you want to come down and come on the mic and have your up to 8 minutes to perform, come on down. And even if you're not in London, if you're in London on the first Thursday of any month, not currently, I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but when this when this video goes out, it's going to be June, so the Word Zoo will be on like a summer break. But if you're watching this video in September, then yeah, come on down, we'll be back. But anyway, enough of that sly, not shameful plug-in of my open mic event. The reason, I was going into Abney Books because I was heading down to the Word Zoo and I had some time, I was early, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go into this bookshop and have a look around. And then I saw that they did this deal where it was like 4 books for £10, and I was like, cool, let me buy 4 books, pick up 4 random books, take it to the Word Zoo, and we can do like, I think I started thinking about it before that, and I think I went into Abney Books before I saw the deal, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this. And I think I bought raffle tickets to start it. I talked about it with the guys, said I was gonna start doing it. Went to Abney Books, bought the 4 books, picked up 4 random books, brought it down. We had the raffle tickets, and yeah, we did the first, I think it was at the Word Zoo show for, I want to say last Christmas, da 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 da, sorry. Yeah, last Christmas for the Word Zoo show, we did like, we do the not so Christmassy Christmas special where we do like sketches, and we have poetry and comedy stuff and a big show, and sometimes it's to do with Christmas, sometimes it's not so Christmassy. What can I say? It's a fun time. But anyway, to make it a little bit more Christmassy and have some presents and surprises and stuff like that, I came up with the idea, oh, we can have a book raffle. And then it was just something that I just continued doing, because I was just like, oh, I really enjoy buying books and giving it away. Like, it's kind of like a form of, for me, it's like sharing storytelling. Like, sometimes there's books that I pick up and I've read them before, and I'm like, oh, this would be an interesting one for people to buy, people to win. Or sometimes it's books that I haven't read before, and I'm like, I'm so sad that I have to give these books away in the book raffle. I want to read them, but I always take pictures of these books, so I can always buy the books in the future or find the books again in the future. So that's also another side quest for me. But yeah, book raffle. So now, because I have another favorite bookshop that I'm going to, which is Brunswick Bookshop, and which is where I've recently, if you saw my previous videos, all the books in that, the books I bought recently came from the Brunswick Bookshop, because it's right around the corner from where I work, and I go there like once a week. So, I mean, just like I said, just browsing, going to see what I can find. And I'm going to switch back to Abney Books, because I thought of something recently. Like, sometimes, like I said, I buy books for the book raffle. There's other times where I've gone in, bought the 4 books for the book raffle, and then seen another book, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to read this book. And then I bought that book for myself. I think one of the books that I remember buying in that, from that Abney Bookshop is, I think it was some book about like the science of superpowers or something like that. And I was like, oh, there's a science to it. I was like, nice, need to check that out. Haven't read that book yet, but really, really cool idea. Like, there's an actual scientifical back into it. So if there's a scientifical back into it, that means we could have superpowers in the future. There's someone in a lab somewhere trying to engineer superpowers for human beings. You know it, I know it. I'm just waiting to see the first, what is his name? The boy is, I can't think of his name. His name has eluded me. I can't think of his name. But yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, drop it in the comments, refresh my brain. I'm gonna look after this anyway, but something man, is it? I can't, it's from The Boys, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's another superhero show. Am I getting these mixed? Am I talking about the right thing? Anyway, yeah. It's about the atmosphere of bookshops. You don't get that from like being at home, swiping, looking on Amazon or looking on Waterstones, or Brunswick Bookshop have a website. Abney Books also has a website, but it's not a website where you can buy books. But anyway, like wherever you're looking for books, you find them. Like, it's not the same as, it's not the same atmosphere. Like, you're usually in your own atmosphere, and you can be in your own atmosphere within a bookshop, but you're not surrounded by books though. And I guess that brings me on to like reading and creativity, because I actually think they go hand in hand together, especially for me. Like, in that period where I wasn't reading as much, I felt like I went into more dips where I felt like I was less creative. There was a lot of more stop start with my writing, because I didn't analyze it back at that time, but I'm analyzing it and processing it right now in this video. But I think, yeah, like in that period where I wasn't reading as much, I was creative. I was running off all the other things in life and all the things I had read up until that point, but yeah, there was a lot of stop-start. But since I've been reading consistently for the last, I want to say 5-6 years, I think I've been reading like consistently, like actually reading a book. Whether it's taken me, whether I always pick it up and read it, or whether I picked it up sometimes to read it for the last, I think, about 5-6 years. Since, and before that it was like a long break, do you know what I mean? And I felt like in that time I've been so much more creative. There's been not much time where I don't have an idea to write, or I don't have an idea to, whether it's poetry or stories. I feel like so much more inspired because I've got my, like I said, I have a really visual imagination, so I really envision these worlds. I can really see it. So that's why I love a good writer that can create those images in my head that describes those worlds, that just makes me like, whoa. Like the best book for that is like Ready Player One. When I read Ready Player One, like, I think that's one of the books that I've recommended to absolutely everyone after reading it, because not only is it a great book, but also like the way how the author writes, like, I completely imagined everything. So when I actually went and saw the film Ready Player One, what I was watching on the screen was pretty much, I would say, like one-on-one as to what I was envisioning in my head. Like, and there's not many books where I've read it and then watched the film and then thought, this is what I saw when I was reading it. Oh my gosh, this is sick. It made me enjoy the film so much more, because there was like parts of the film kind of glossed over and they skipped over and parts, and like, I understand to make the film, there's some parts that you have to leave out, but I'm glad I had read the book and I had that pre-knowledge, so that I was like, all right, cool, you skip that out, but it doesn't really miss out from the story. I feel like a book nerd or like a movie nerd or whatever it is. But I guess reading inspires my writing just by reading new words, or reading different ways of punctuation or how they tell the story. It kind of inspires on how I can tell a story. Like the different beats that they use, the different types of stories that I read, whether, like, there was a long period where, actually, I think the most interesting thing is that the period where I stopped reading for a long period of time, or I was only picking up a book every now and then, as opposed to what it is now. The moment I finish a book, I'm picking up a new book. Like, I have a new book ready that I'm primed and I'm reading that next. Like, the moment that I finish that, I'm like, oh, that was great, but what am I reading tomorrow? Now I finished this one today. And yeah, maybe it takes me a couple of months. like I said, the book I'm reading right now, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I am running through that book. I'm actually on like chapter 3 right now. I'm halfway through it, and I've only been reading it for 2 weeks, and that's a new record for me. I never usually read a book that fast, but it's actually really, really good. It's like a proper page turner, and it's also much slimmer than some of the other books I have been reading. Like some of them, they've been like 400 or 500 pages or even 300 pages, but I think Before the Coffee Gets Cold is only about 200 pages, so yeah, and yeah, whatever. And again, I'm not sure how, I was trying to think about this before, like how does reading inspire my music? But then I started thinking a lot of my music is kind of instrumental based. So I'll make an instrumental, I'll create it, and also a lot of the time when I'm making an instrumental or when I finish an instrumental, I envision a world. I can see like a story being told in the beat, within that beat, like kind of like the soundtrack to a movie or a soundtrack to a clip or a TV show or something like that. So I guess what reading does do is that a lot of the time I envision the world of the book, and depending on the type of story, I can kind of play off that kind of emotion or that scene or that idea in that. I feel like everything that I do that inspires me bleeds into all forms of my creativity, so it's kind of hard to see specifically where like the lines kind of stop, because they blend into each other. But yeah, reading, it allows me to imagine those worlds. So the more I can imagine and the more I am imagining, it just makes me think more and imagine more. And then when I'm going into making music, I'm like, oh, I can do this, there's this possibility. Not specifically about the reading, but what the reading makes me think about. And the different kind of perspectives and the different cultures or the different types of things that people go through that you kind of like, maybe I don't experience it in my actual life, but I can read about someone depicting it to me, and it's just like, it's almost as real life, especially if it's a non-fiction book. Hopefully I'm getting that right. Non-fiction is like my brain is farting. Non-fiction is like not a storybook, and fiction is a storybook. I'm hoping I'm getting that the right way around. So especially with a non-fiction book. And maybe, like I don't read a lot of non-fiction. I read them occasionally, or unless there's a purpose for reading them, or audiobooks. Non-fiction books are great for audiobooks because then you can learn something while you're commuting and traveling around. So yeah, so other than that, I've listened to a lot of audiobooks of non-fictions, but I prefer to read my fiction as a book, physical. And again, I've talked about it, but like the way someone tells a story, it kind of inspires my storytelling. The reason why I have the wake-up call here is because in my last video, I was talking about my blind date with a book prize, if you can call it that, was, and I think it was like towards the end of the video, like I was talking about it, like my blind date with a book prize was not safe for work, which is not safe for reading in public. And there was also another book Catabasis, and I mentioned that The Wake Up Call was like that book in the middle. And yeah, The Wake Up Call, absolutely brilliant book. It's by Beth O'Leary, I think her name is. Is it? I think it's O'Leary. Absolutely amazing book. And the reason why I picked this book up, first and foremost, I think I was traveling somewhere and I had forgotten my book at home, or I purposely left my book at home to buy a book while I was out so I could start a new book on my travels. But I think it was maybe the former rather than the latter. And I went into Waterstones because that was the only bookshop that was there. Or was it Waterstones or... Yeah, we'll go with Waterstones. And I was looking specifically for a romantic comedy book because I wanted to write a romantic comedy, and I'm in the process of doing that. But I hadn't read any romantic comedies before. I watch a hell of a lot of romantic comedies. I love romantic comedies. But I've never read it, so I didn't know what the format of a romantic comedy was like in a book. Like what the beats were, how the story was told, like how they lay things out. I guess you have more it allows for more to be played with within a book as opposed to like a film or a TV show that you watch. You kind of, after it gets to a certain point, like you're watching it, it even sometimes happens in the book when you're reading it and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen. And then you read it and you get surprised and it's not what you thought, and it's the same with the show. But yeah, I'd never read a romantic comedy before. I read the Wake Up Call cover and the back, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like the perfect first romantic comedy to read, and it is an absolutely amazing book. It's one of those books that if you're like, you're down on luck and like you're down on love and you're like, oh, it's not working for me, I recommend reading this book, and it makes you more hopeful that anything is around the corner, you know? You never know who or what, or if it is the person that's always been right in front of you, the person that you're always bickering with, you never know. But yeah, this book is absolutely dope. I recommend checking it out. So, and I guess another thing is, I guess, where I find inspiration outside of books is everywhere. I am inspired by absolutely everything. But books or reading is like the glue to my world. Like, I could be inspired by things, but it might take me longer to process it. But if I read a book, the process, the part of processing might be within the book. Like I might read something similar to something I'm going through, or like the relationships between certain characters is similar to a relationship thing that's going on in my own life. And it may be just small connections, but it's a new way of understanding, a new way of seeing it. So I see things in different lights every time I read a different book, because every person has a different perspective on how they see the world. That's why you could have 20 million books that are romantic comedies, and each person tells that romantic comedy story completely different. You know how it's going to probably start, you know how it's probably going to end, but that I want to call it limbo. Limbo is the word I was looking for. That limbo in the middle. You don't know. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of any genre. You could read the same book written by 5 different authors, all talking about the same things, but they tell the story 5 completely different ways. So you actually get 5 completely different stories based on the same stimulus, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm inspired by everything. And why reading matters to me is, like I've said throughout this video, it's like the learning, the empathy. I haven't talked about empathy. I think it's really interesting that you can get a lot of empathy from reading someone's story or reading a book that you have never read before, or reading a perspective. I'm really interested in perspective. I did my dissertation at university on perspectives because it's like, yeah, really, really interesting to me, because my perspective is the words that I may write or the video that I put out or the post that I post on Instagram or Twitter or X or whatever you call it. But other people's perception is what they perceive from what you're putting out. And it's like that beautiful saying, like, a picture tells is it a picture tells 1,000 words or 1,000 stories? And a story tells 1,000,000 stories. Because within that one story, there's the story that this book is telling, the story of how you found this book, the story of what the story means to you, how it connected to your story while you were reading the story inception. And yeah, just that, being able to escape to another world just by opening a book. You could be on a crazy busy bus or crazy busy train. Like, a lot of the time it's like I'm on my way on the underground, like headphones on, packed of people, and I got my book out just reading, and I'm just in that world. Like, within 2 lines in, I'm back to where I was, like back to whatever the story is, and I'm back to tell me more about this. And there's not many things that you could be here one moment and then inside of here the next, you know. And I guess my closing thoughts would have to be why I think reading is worth making time for. And if you haven't picked it up from this entire video already, like, reading is worth making time for, because it's worth reading different perspectives, being engrossed in different worlds, having that time where, look, you're so stressed and you're thinking about all these other things. How about you take a moment and just read a book and take your mind off all your troubles in another world? And you might, you might find that while you're reading this book, you may not find the key or the fix to your troubles, but you might find something that gives you that form of solace. So you're like, yeah, do you know what? I understand this a bit better. Oh, I get where that person may have been coming from in that situation. And oh, I didn't get that before. And now I get why I need to do this. And oh, you know, making time for reading is like making time for yourself. Everyone needs that time, that break away from screens. Like, everyone. Like, I don't even care about that blue light. Just take a break from your screen sometimes, and read your book. And yeah, the only other thing I want to ask the viewers would be, what are you guys reading at this moment in time? Like, write it in the comments. I'm intrigued. Like, I want to see if any of you can give me a new recommendation, because if it's worth buying up and I see it in the bookshop, I will buy it. Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'll be back again with some more videos on reading, booking, creativity and storytelling. Yeah, if you enjoyed it, let me know. If not, let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.